for it. Looks like we're live, boys.
Yahoo.
Turn my mic off. Have fun, guys.
Thanks, G-Man.
Thanks, G-Man.
Muted.
I've got a notepad. It makes me look professional.
Your show will go live in 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1.
Nothing's happened. Intro music. No. We're professionals here.
You've just joined the Prepper Broadcasting Network, where we promote self-reliance and independence. The views and opinions expressed are strictly those of the host or their guests. Visit us in the interactive chat room at prepperbroadcasting.com.
Unmuted.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Homesteady Live. So tonight, we're going to give you another heads up disclaimer. We're trying out some new software tonight, and I have not spent near enough time using this software as I should have. So we're going to have a fun night tonight. This is going to be a more laid-back, relaxed edition of Homesteady Live. We're going to talk about fishing tonight. We're going to tell a little bit of tips, techniques, tricks, a little bit of advice, and hopefully a lot of fishing stories. And this is the first time we're going to try with this live show to actually have some callers call in and tell us some fishing stories. And we'll see if we can make it through the night with all our equipment working, and if we can, that would be a good. If we can make it through the night with everything working, that's a success. So before we dive into this topic, I got a couple friends I want to introduce here. I got my buddy here. We're gonna call him Uncle Bourbon.
Uncle Bourbon. Please don't.
And over here we have Pickles.
It's gone downhill already.
Oh, the worst. Kendra's not going to approve of this.
So tonight I got
Not
two of my
approved.
fishing buddies, and they're going to join me for this discussion. And we're going to talk about how to actually catch fish. So we're going to get into just if you've never fished before and you want to just get started, have some basic. Oh man, first blooper. Hold on, guys. We were private over on YouTube. Good thing I caught that.
What happened?
All right, we were private on YouTube. All right, now we're public.
Take it from the top.
You hear it?
So blooper number one, everybody. We were private over on YouTube. No one was able to see the show, but I think we're live now. So let me make sure. We'll see people starting to arrive, and we'll say a quick shout out to our friends over at Prepper Broadcasting. Let's see who's joined us tonight. We have looks like Hawker. Is that Michelle or Michael Klein? I'm guessing Michael. And I'm sure we'll have more join us as time goes on in the chat there. So thanks for joining us for the show tonight, guys. And like I said, we're gonna have some bloopers for sure as we experiment with our new software here. But let's dive into tonight's topic of fishing. As long as I can make sure that we are live on YouTube. I can't tell. We'll know in a minute here. Say.
Hit me.
Just give us 1 minute here, guys. I just got to make sure we went live.
Sport bottle's gonna be dead tonight.
That's a sad looking bottle.
All
It is.
right. I'm going to pause.
deceiving. This is like on the internet, right?
Okay, we should be good here. Everybody watching on YouTube, sorry for the trouble. We launched the video wrong tonight, and we explained to the guys on Prepper Broadcasting we're experimenting with some new programs and some new software, and so we're having a couple issues. But I think the issues, there we go. People are joining us, and we're good to go. So tonight we're going to talk about fishing. I got a couple of buddies with me, and we're going to dive right into this topic. We're going to skip on the intro music and just start talking about fishing. So guys, right here, two of my favorite fishing buddies. I've been fishing with Burge over here for, how long have we been fishing? 5-6 years?
More than that.
Oh yeah, so
Yeah, it's
Well,
not a
since
big
high
number.
school.
Like
man, it's-
10 years minimum?
10 years, yeah, 10 years minimum.
Yeah.
And
we'll go with that.
my buddy James here, we've been fishing for the last couple of years together up in where we are in Connecticut. And these two guys here tonight, they're both, well, Burge is a fly fisherman, pretty much exclusively, right?
Some days.
Some days. we can convince him once in a while.
It depends on when I gotta come kick your butt in the tournament.
He'll pick up a spinning reel if he's got to. And then James, what do you do, James? You're a little bit of both?
A little bit of both. I grew up with the spinner, like most kids, but my father-in-law, big-time fly fisherman, he got me into it. Practiced casting in the grass, and then moved to the water where the actual fish are.
So I attempted, a couple years back, Kendra was getting into fly fishing, and I attempted to, learn a little bit of it, and I'm the kind of guy, I have, you might say, lack of patience. And fishing is enough of an exercise in patience. So the fly fishing for me was like too much practicing in the grass.
Austin only likes catching. He doesn't like fishing.
So we'll talk about catching tonight. I got some advice there. Don't fly fish.
So let me just throw it out there, Wacky Gary.
There we go. So tonight we're going to focus on, in the beginning of the night here, we're just going to share some tips so that if anyone is watching or listening and they struggle with fishing or they want to learn how to do a little bit better, we're going to cover the basic, panfish, trout, bass kind of trio. Some advice on where they can find those, how they can catch those, so that next time they go fishing, they actually can catch a fish instead of being, on the bank disappointed. And then later in the night, we want to have your stories. We want to have you guys call in. So we got a number for you. The number, if you want to write this down, is 1-347-202-0228, and then you have to press the number 1 at the end of that. If you type all that in, dial that in your phone, make sure to hit the number 1 at the end. You can be put on deck to share your story. So hopefully we get some people sharing stories later tonight. And thanks for joining us, everybody, over at Prepper Broadcasting, and for dealing with those bloopers in the beginning. And welcome to our friends on YouTube. We got Bruce in the chat box and Vanchos Granja saying hello. Thanks for joining us, guys. Let's talk some fishing. So I think fishing goes synonymous with disappointment, right? You get all excited about this day, you plan your day, maybe you get your gear, you get your tackle, and especially if you're new to fishing or maybe young, you head on out there and it's easy to be disappointed. And I remember my first big time fishing disappointment. My uncle, who's a really good fisherman, was coming into town. He lived on the West Coast. But I was all excited because I knew when he came out, he'd take me fishing. So we went out and we were going to go to this waterfall where the fish literally were jumping out of the waterfall, and you could stick a net out. You could catch them in the net. I was about 6 years old at the time.
I think I know this waterfall.
Yeah, it's amazing. And so we were headed to the waterfall, and I wasn't even going to use a pole. I was just going to use the net because that's the easy way to catch fish. And we get to the waterfall, and I got my little tackle box and my net. I go running out of the car to the waterfall, and it was dried up. And here I am, 6 years old. I just started sobbing.
You sure you weren't 20?
I would react the same way today.
26?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is this yesterday?
So that was my first big disappointment with fishing. And of course, as the years have gone on, there's been many more. And the difference with fishing, I have found over the years, as you get better and better, the difference between a really disappointing day and a great day, usually there's just a couple little things, a couple of things that you have to do. So the 3 areas we're going to talk about first here tonight as we discuss this topic. First off, we're going to talk a little bit about the seasonality and the weather. So what time of year you want to spend the most effort trying to catch some fish, and what weather you want to use. Then we'll get into where to find the fish. And then we'll just talk a little bit about tweaking your gear. And again, we're talking about freshwater, panfish, trout, bass, kind of that trifecta. And once... Oh, we lost our video on you guys. That's going to happen tonight. So once we get through our tips, then we're going to want to hear some of your stories. So I hope you guys call in and share them. So guys, you can pick any season, you can pick any month to fish out of the whole year. What's the right month?
May.
I was thinking the same
May.
thing. Now, we're in the Northeast, so this might be different if we're in Northeast, United States.
Oh, we'd already be fishing in the South.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
But for where we're at, May. Why?
For me, as a fly fisherman, best hatches are May.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you get your April, it's weather dependent, like you said. If it's a cold snap,
Well,
winter runs a little longer, you're hosed.
That and the snow melt, the rivers are running so much faster you can't wade.
Oh, yeah.
And to fish the rivers, you have to be in the river. You can't fish from the bank.
Not unless it's a little creek.
So you got these white rapids.
Yep.
That
May, Silver. Late
Same here.
May or early June even.
Yep.
So I agree with May, but I'm not a fly fisherman, so it has nothing to do with the hatch. The reason I
Spawn,
like
baby.
is the spawn.
It's on it.
So many fish start spawning in the springtime, and really, I think the best season, if we widen it out to just season, would be spring, because early in the spring you have pike, you have walleye, they start spawning, and when fish spawn, they go to the shallows, which means for those of you who don't have a boat, who don't have the ability, maybe a friend with a boat, if you're just fishing from the shore.
Got a chance.
The best time is in that spring because you can reach where the fish are. And walleye, pike, then that progresses. You get the bass start spawning. Usually around here in May, we get a really good bass spawn. And as somebody who's not fly fishing, who's using like bait casters and spinners, springtime, we like to go around and actually find the bass sitting on their beds and mark them. And then after that, you have, of course, in the spring, you have a lot of trout being stocked. So if you're fishing some stocked waters. And then even the panfish, they start breeding in the springtime too.
Yeah.
Yeah, panfish are everywhere.
Yeah.
You could probably actually catch them fishing in the grass.
Yeah.
It is true.
Practicing your fly fishing.
Panfish.
So if you have to pick a time to go, if you really want to catch a fish, if you've never done this before, or if you're trying, maybe you caught a couple, but you really want to get good, focus on the springtime.
Yep.
As far as weather goes, what is your guys' favorite weather to fish in, and what's the best weather to fish in?
I like overcast
I was
days.
going to say overcast days.
But it's really nice being out there when the sun's shining.
Yeah.
But you can't see
But
as well.
that's a siesta time on the boat, bro.
Yeah, right. Overcast days you can see a little further.
Yeah. And morning and evening. You know,
Great point.
Don't waste the time during the middle of the day.
Oh yeah,
Go cook some burgers on the shore, whatever you want to eat.
Veggie burgers.
Veggie burgers. That's fine. You know?
Pickles over here is a vegan.
For like
Temper is eating a plant-based diet.
That's the one.
And
That's
it's
the
for
one.
health, and we won't go there tonight, guys.
Right.
Don't worry, he hunts. He's not that kind of vegan.
Right.
Are you?
I hold no credit now. You're listening to a vegan fisherman.
Would you eat fish tonight, though?
Yeah, right.
Are you a pescatarian at this
Your
point?
ratings just plummeted.
We just lost all our viewers.
Oh.
No credibility on that side of the
No,
camera.
not at all.
All right.
But no, yeah. Don't waste your time in the middle of the day. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
And then also pay attention to weather fronts. That's important.
Great tip. Yep.
You know, if you got a lot of weather moving in, it's not necessarily the best.
Yeah, that's totally true.
Rain doesn't matter, but if it's like a big storm, don't waste your time.
Yeah. I've had some really good fishing days in the rain.
Absolutely. Some of my
But-
best days.
I'm getting to the point in my life where I don't feel like fishing in the rain. I'll just say it.
I'm uncomfortable.
The bluebird days, like you guys already talked about this, the bluebird days, they're never as good, especially midday.
Nope.
Yeah.
You get yourself a nice overcast, and I have a rhyme on how to remember what the barometer's doing and how it will affect your fishing.
I'm ready.
Ready for
Yeah,
this?
I haven't heard
so
this.
if the barometer's rising, on their beds they'll be lying. Huh?
Yeah.
That's pretty sad.
I like
If
the
the
way it's
barometer's dropping, in your boat they'll be hopping.
Okay.
Wow.
That's true as it goes to low pressure. It's
Yeah.
not when it's rising.
So as the barometer drops, which is usually with an oncoming cold front, but
Yep.
it hasn't hit yet, the fish will be more active feeders. So that was my little rhyme too.
Okay.
And as far as I know, that's an original. I don't know that that's much to brag about, but
Right.
that's the best thing I've created in my life. It's kind of sad. But I have beautiful children. I created those. And my wife did most of the work. Told you guys, this is going to be a laid-back episode.
Yeah.
So we talked about springtime. Pick yourself some, maybe overcast days. Definitely mornings. Mornings and evenings.
Yeah.
So much better.
Bring your bug spray.
Bring the bug spray.
Oh my.
Yeah, definitely.
That is going to get you ahead of the game so much faster right away. The next thing you got to consider are where to find the fish. Speaking of my children.
Love them dearly.
It's often said that 80% of the fish live in 20% of the water. And you guys probably remember when you first start fishing, that feeling that you're out there casting and there's nothing, right? You're casting all day, and we've had days like this where you just go out and you cast and you cast, and it's like
you're wondering if it's the lure. Am I
Yeah.
using the wrong tackle? So you switch the lure, and then you're still
cutting and tying.
Oh man, you spend more time switching lures than you have actually are fishing.
So as far as where to find the fish, you guys, I mean, as fly fishermen, you're talking about a lot of river work. I'm doing a lot of pond stuff. Let's start with the river, right? Where do you guys look in the river to find the fish? Because I find, the river's a little bit easier.
Right.
Because it's
Not
a little
necessarily.
smaller.
But
Okay.
it depends.
Yeah, you look kind of for the deeper holes.
You're looking for pools.
Where there's a pool or maybe like an overhang or a tree.
And again, it depends on what species you're going after.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, assuming we're talking about trout.
Yep.
They like to hide kind of in the calms after a rapid.
Yep. Sit behind a rock in front of a rock.
Yep. Anything, if there's a tree down in the river, same thing, yeah.
And you would think
structure.
deeper runs, but it depends on what time of season it is, because as more bugs start hatching, you find the big fish sometimes right in the shallows for no good reason.
Yeah.
Can't explain it, but
They're there.
Yeah, that's for sure, especially like we said in that springtime.
Right.
I remember opening day, this was probably 5 or 6 years ago. I was fishing a very small river that led to a reservoir down in the southern part of the state. And we literally I could see 5 big, beautiful walleye in the most shallow area of this river. It was so shallow, and I was not having a good day of fishing. I grabbed a net. This is the 6-year-old me, but now I'm like 26. I grabbed a net. I was like, I'm going to get these fish. And I dove into the spring, like trying to scoop them up. And of
Aggressive.
course, a little aggressive.
Yeah.
The fly fishermen around me were just like weeping tears of catch and release tears. But I'm needless to say, I caught no walleye that day.
So funny.
But yeah, shallow water. They can be there, especially in the spring.
A river bend on the outside corner of a river bend where it's calm. They like that. You know,
basically, they're going to be, especially in a river, trout are going to be on the seams between the slow water and the fast water. And they're going to be sitting in that slow water right on that seam because the food is going to be brought in by the fast water. And they can just easily pick it off and use no energy to go after it.
Yeah, all beaten up from the rapids or whatever.
Exactly.
Yep.
So you look for those foam lines in the river. A lot of different things. And again, it depends on what you're doing. If you're fly fishing, and you're up top, it's a whole different ballgame when you're dry fly fishing as opposed to throwing a worm down the bottom or a nymph.
Yeah. I mean, you got to make it count because they catch on fast. If your presentation's off a little. Sometimes, yeah.
This is a good point. We're going to get into gear now.
Oh, okay.
So we've talked about, we got to talk about the pond and lake first, but then we'll dive into
I didn't know there was an
Let's
outline.
Come on, guys.
Let's talk about structure then.
Yes. So, right?
See?
I got you.
Little segue for you. Teed it up.
If you're going to fish, like I like to fish ponds and lakes. My favorite fishing, I'm more of a bass fisherman. I like bass fishing with a bait caster. My absolute favorite fishing is a pond. Maybe not as big as a big old lake that you can't cover all in a day. I like a pond that I can work the whole perimeter or at least half in a day. And even a 50-acre pond, you can work the perimeter, with at least half of it in the morning. That's what we do often in the places. We're not going to blow up our spots, guys. Sorry, but the ponds that we fish. So when you're fishing a pond, it's the one thing you're not dealing with in the pond. You don't have the moving water like you do in the river, so you don't have those seams. But you guys already mentioned the structure. So down trees, especially early in the season when they're shallow. Down trees are a great spot.
Rocky points.
Rocky points.
Rocks and docks.
Rocks and docks. Yep. If you're,
that's a good rhyme.
There you go.
We got that's
as far as I know, it's original.
Yeah, it's something to be proud of. The rocks, the docks. As spring turns to summer, the fish will start to go deeper. And honestly, as spring turns to summer, I stop fishing a lot because I just find it gets so much harder to find them offshore without using fish finders and finding structure. Now you still can. But yeah, looking for structure, looking for shallow points, rocky points, all great places to find some fish. Guys, if you have any tips, be sure to tag us at Homesteady in the chat box or at Prepper Broadcasting chat box. We'd love to share your tips too, guys. So share them. Just tag at Homesteady so they jump out to me. So the third point, and you already got into this a little bit, James, talking about the gear. I think the biggest factor in whether or not you're going to catch something is in your gear, and not necessarily in having like a tackle box full of tackle, just a simple, clean presentation.
Yep.
When I start fishing for, generally in the beginning of the season, I'll start fishing for trout. And one of the biggest mistakes I find people make, whether or not it's, spinning gear like I'm using, or maybe fly fishing, the same problem, I wouldn't know. But as far as the spinning gear goes, you got guys fishing giant poles with giant line. They got like 20-pound test.
Yeah.
They got a big old plastic bobber and then a giant bass hook on the end with a worm all scrunched up on the thing. And they throw that out there hoping to catch something. I've been there. I remember sitting a couple of years back when I really got into fishing, as far as like, my adult life, getting into fishing.
You retired the net.
Exactly.
Yeah, you put the net.
Mostly.
Okay.
So, like last year.
Exactly. I remember going to a spot and watching this guy near me pulling trout out of this river. Just boom, 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 boom. And I was the guy with 20-pound test and the giant hook and the wad of the worm on the wad. And the biggest lesson I learned, I went over and I said, hey man, show me, what are you doing? Because you're killing it. I got nothing here. The first thing he showed me was my line was too big.
Yeah.
The pole was too big. The hook was, everything was too big.
Yep.
So just figuring out, if you're targeting trout in a pond, you don't have to worry about the current. You can fish 2 or 4 pound test.
Yep.
If you're brand new, maybe keep it to 4. 4 is a little safer than the 2 pound test. But fishing a really light pound test, and depending on if your plans are to keep the fish or not, if you're planning on taking trout home to eat, I use a very small hook. Now, if I'm not going to eat them, there's the concern that they might swallow it, and if you want to release them, that's a different thing. But if you use, very small line, really small hook, and I like, when I'm going for trout, I'll use a worm, but I'll only use half the worm. I'll cut the thing in half and just thread it onto that little hook. No bobber. A lot of times no weight unless there's a lot of current. Does that sound, you guys, when you're fly fishing, is that something similar presentation wise? Obviously not the
Not a worm,
but
no worm, yeah.
The San Juan worm.
Very good.
Yeah, they're squirmy wormy.
Well,
Yeah,
you mentioned hatch before. You try to match the hatch.
Sometimes, but not always.
Yeah, it helps. In my opinion, it helps.
I think it depends. If you have a classic pattern that's going to match so many different other things, it'll mimic across the board. It doesn't matter.
Right.
But you have to definitely match your gear towards the water you're fishing.
Absolutely.
Towards the species you're fishing for. I mean, and that's why fly fishing, unfortunately, gets expensive, because now you've got 10 rods, 10 reels, 10 lines, whatever you start to do as you get crazy into the sport. But but you're right. When you were talking about spin fishing for trout in a little stream, or even a little stream, I would be 4 to 6 pound test at the most.
Yeah.
And again, fishing maybe, I guess, what is that? An 8 to size 10 hook, tiny. Throwing a little worm
they see
on
that
it,
line
mealworm.
any bigger.
Yeah, I mean, you got to remember, we might think about fish being spooked by line, but there's so much junk floating over them. They see those shadows all the time. You don't really have to worry about it as much as we think we do. It's more, again, 20-pound test you're going to see. It doesn't matter. They're going to tell. And a big hook, they're going to tell.
Yeah.
That doesn't look natural. But fish, most of the time, they're hungry. They want to eat. So you get something in front of them that looks halfway decent, you got a shot.
Yeah.
Looks like we're getting some notes here.
Read them.
They're having a hard time hearing you guys over at Pepper Broadcasting.
Oh.
So we're gonna address that, guys. Can you guys scooch in? Can we get a little
cozier here?
You look cozier here at the microphone.
All right, guys. Tell us over in the chat box if that solved the issue.
Does that solve the issue?
So
If it doesn't, drink some bourbon, guys.
here's our test. Best fish you ever caught. What size?
Best fish I ever caught?
Wow,
Yeah.
that's tough.
It is hard because it depends on the species to me.
Okay, biggest trout you ever caught.
Biggest trout I ever caught, 24 inches.
Nice.
Yeah,
Wow.
big brown.
Shit.
Yeah.
Wow.
You want to change species?
I never
Right, exactly.
I never shot up to Alaska to catch these little 29-inch fish that are just swimming around chasing eggs.
Right. Cod was the biggest fish I caught. But that's easy. That's like cheat fishing. You're bottom fishing.
Okay. It's all right.
Pulling up 2 at a time.
Yeah.
So, cod inside of cod.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Very true.
That's the way to do it.
Absolutely.
Stripers would be bigger for me, but they were all, again, right around 30 inches, but they're all,
Right.
they weren't keepers that day. That's the only problem.
Yeah.
So we're getting some questions here, and we cover. Let's dive into gear a little bit more. Looks like we've fixed our problem. My goodness, RSWL Prepper says a 30-pound striper was his best fish.
Wow.
That's a beauty, man. Congrats.
Fancy.
So it looks like we fixed our
How did
audio
it
issue.
taste is the question.
I can hear the other I can hear the other gentleman. I can't. Okay, we're having.
Which one is which?
So can you hear? Can you hear Pickles or can you hear Uncle Bourbon?
Is it bourbon or pickles? No, pick your choice.
Oh.
We're gonna address this, guys. We're gonna get our stuff working a little bit better here, but let's finish up this subject.
I like that
gear.
9-foot sturgeon that just showed up.
Nine?
That's a dinosaur.
Wow.
Dinosaur. My
Yeah,
goodness.
those fish are great.
Man, nice.
That's pretty
That's
cool.
G-Man, 9-foot sturgeon. Nice job.
Nice
G-Man.
job.
Nice
G-Man.
job, G-Man.
So,
We're going fishing with you, by the way.
We need to see more of the YouTube guys. We're not getting any fish over in the YouTube guys.
Come
our
on,
YouTubers
YouTube.
not good fishermen? We did get some
No.
good questions. Somebody asked, do we use beads down here? You guys use beads?
Beads, you know what? Beads came down from Alaska, and actually most guys that are going to fish fly fishing for eggs and steelhead patterns and salmon, and possibly trout chasing after the salmon, beads are actually really effective here compared to a lot of the other artificial type egg patterns. So beads, if you're in the know, you're going to go with beads when it comes to fishing for those steelhead and brown trout behind the salmon, especially up in upstate New York or Michigan.
Yeah, Michigan.
Yep.
So Corey asked, the same guy asked, what are the size trout we're fishing with 2 to 4 pound line? Corey, I can pull, no problem, an 18 or 19 inch trout with 2 to 4 pound line if your gear is set right. So
I mean, I can get a 24-inch
Yeah.
brown trout on 5
That's
or
what-
6X,
Yeah.
and that's, anything under 4 pound.
Yeah.
So I'm good there
you
too.
just got to play it right. So you got to make sure your gear. So not only do you have to make sure that you have the right light line, right size hooks, right size gear, but make sure your rod and reel is set up right. The drag on your rod and reel, that's very important. If your drag is set too tight and that fish runs,
broke.
you're going to break off.
Broke City.
Especially if you're using 2 to 4 pound test. If you have it too loose, you're not going to be able to set the hook. So you need to make sure your drag is right in that zone where you can set the hook, but if the fish takes off running, it's going to run hard. Oh, man.
What happened?
We got Accountant Mike's watching us.
Accountant Mike.
He says he caught a big flounder once. Accountant Mike.
Yes, he
I
did.
gave Accountant Mike the night off, and he's watching our live stream. Accountant Mike, call in.
Tell that story of the flounder.
We'll get you in here after. We'll get you in here after break. So speaking of break, we're going to cut to break, guys, in just a minute here, and then we want to hear your fishing stories. And we'll have Accountant Mike call in. He'll be our first call in, and he'll tell us about the big flounder that he caught once. So, guys, we're going to take a short break here, and then we'll get you. I'm going to text Accountant Mike right now the phone number.
We got any other questions?
Is there a music
we
going?
still there?
Your family at Muted Survival Supply. Founded by United States Marine Corps veterans, Forge is the premier destination for quality American-made survival and emergency preparedness products. Freeze-dried foods, water filtration, fire starters, fully equipped bug-out bags. Find everything your family needs to stay safe, protected, and nourished during times of uncertainty at ForgeSurvivalSupply.com. Delivery is fast and it's free on all orders. Need help? Call our 24/7 support team. As a listener of this program, Forge Survival Supply would like to give you an additional 10% savings. That's right, an additional 10% off your entire order, plus free shipping by entering discount code SURVIVOR at checkout. That's ForgeSurvivalSupply.com and use discount code SURVIVOR.
Hey, I'm Joe Alton, MD. I'm here to remind you that disasters can happen anytime, anywhere, and you need to know what to do in an emergency. The new 2016 third edition of the Survival Medicine Handbook is the essential guide for when medical help is not on the way. The Survival Medicine Handbook covers every issue you'll face in times of trouble, and it's all in plain English. Get the Survival Medicine Handbook at Amazon.com. I guarantee one day you'll be glad you did.
Hi, this is Ron Paul. I am a former congressman, physician, and presidential candidate. The world is in turmoil. Things like Ebola, earthquakes, wars, and famines are commonplace. As Americans, we are largely sheltered from these events. However, in parts of the world, just having enough food is a huge problem. For some of us, there is the nagging thought that we may not always have it so good. So we keep some food on hand just in case. My family and I have found a product that helps us do this better. It's a home freeze dryer from Harvest Right. With it, we eat healthier and store a little more food. We freeze dry everything we love to eat, and it lasts up to 25 years. Who knows what the future will bring? One thing's certain, my family and I will always have food on the table. To learn more, go to harvestright.com or call 800-923-9591. That's harvestright.com or 800-923-9591.
We're back. We're back. Okay, so
movie.
guys, if you want to call in and share fishing stories, we are going to take your stories. The number again is
Show it to them.
1-347-202-0228. Press
It's in the chat
number
feed.
1.
I think it is.
It's in the chat feed.
On Prepper,
And
at least.
we'll put it in the chat feed over on YouTube so you guys can call in. And we're waiting. We want to hear Accountant Mike call in and tell his
Flounder story.
flounder story.
I like this. Where could this go?
So we'll be taking calls. We're going to be listening for the calls to chime in here.
Non-target species.
Until then, we're going to talk a little bit more about fishing gear. So we during the break, we were just chatting and saying, if someone wanted to get started fishing and they could only, get a little bit of gear, a little bit of equipment, under $100 kind of thing.
Yeah.
What advice would we give them to get started?
Don't go into fly fishing.
There's tip number
Okay,
1.
tip number 1. You're not going to do it for under $100. I'm sorry. Okay, but I'm thinking the best thing you can do is go to a store.
A store, really?
That might be a big box store. That's the only problem. But
Are we allowed to name names of stores?
It doesn't matter. You know what? I always say support your local fishing shop because you know what? They're small. They're having a hard time competing. But at the end of the day, they are knowledgeable. They know the water better than the guy behind the counter at the big box store.
Right.
But at the end of the day, get yourself a good medium to light action spinning rod. Get a bail caster, real easy. Get some 6-pound test. Maybe some fluorocarbon if you're... Well, as long as you're not going to knot it up. You're not going to knot it up on that. Don't waste fluorocarbon on a bait caster your first time out there. That's your spider nest in that party. and it's just going to look ugly quick. But go out there, get some hooks. Depending on what species you're going for. Stay with worms. Maybe pick up a couple Rapalas.
Yeah, can't go wrong with Rapalas.
Definitely think about some of the worm baits, the Senko worms. You're not going to go wrong with that. And again, depending on how you rig them, it all is going to depend on that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can get you out the door for under $100.
And we didn't even say this in the beginning. We've been so worried about our equipment working, we didn't even get a good introduction. Uncle Bourbon over here, he actually works at a tackle shop a couple days a week. So when he says, I can get you out of here.
And a guide.
Yeah.
He literally can.
Yeah, so he works there. He does guide work. So this is a guy, some good advice. The only thing I would amend there, sometimes the Rapalas get a little pricey.
Oh, absolutely. $10 a lure.
Well, that's why I'm saying don't go for the real expensive ones. Like I said, start out. Probably go live bait in the very beginning.
Can't go wrong with a worm on a small hook.
You're going to catch bluegills.
Yep.
Absolutely. If you want to go catch fish quick and easy... Hey, let's face it, a hook, a bag of Wonder Bread, putty that thing up around the hook.
That'd be perfect.
And you are so going to catch some bluegills before the day's done.
That's how every kid starts, right?
You know what? Corn, same thing. Can of corn, you're going to be okay.
Yeah, right.
You know what? It's not going to be your best day, but you know what? At least you'll be catching fish.
Right.
All right, guys, we got Accountant Mike here, and he's ready to share his story.
Can't wait.
And,
Can't wait.
I just got to put him on. I got to put him on speaker here for a second. So let's get Accountant Mike. You there, Accountant Mike?
Hello, I'm here.
Look at this. This is fancy. All right, hold on. I got to put you on speaker.
Technology.
Hold on. Let me put you on speaker here. And,
hi, Michael.
How am I going to put
Hello.
you on? Okay, ready? I'm going to put you on speaker. You there?
Hey. Michael's in the house.
Hey, Mike.
Hello, people. How's it going?
How-
Over there at your
how do-
podcast.
how do we look on TV?
I'm not there.
Do we look as good as you do? Is there any financial advice for this story?
Financial advice. We talked about fishing at some point, right?
That's why I gave you the night off.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've already given this a thumbs up. That's because you like to fish.
Yeah. Good. Well, yeah, I'd give it a thumbs up. Sure, go for it. The financial advice is go for it.
All right.
Take a reverse mortgage, cash out your IRA, just do it.
Only if you go to Accountant Mike first to do all this.
Shameless plug. Shameless.
What? Yeah. So, what did I call in for?
Flounder, man. Achilles.
Tell us your flounder.
Oh, that's right. Okay, let me tell you a story. No. First, let me set the stage. You ready for me?
We're ready.
Okay. It was blisteringly hot, I think.
Sounds about
It
right.
was summer-ish. It was probably early in the morning.
Wow.
Or maybe it was in the afternoon.
This is like
Not
Tale of
fully
Two
sure of those
Cities
details
quality.
either. Anyway.
Could he do it in the accent that he was doing last
the point
week?
is, we were fishing, right?
Wait, they want you to tell this in your Dutch accent from last week.
I wasn't prepared for that. Like, ye olde proclamation.
No, really, we do.
Approximately 4 hours. Depression had set amongst the men.
That's about accurate.
Morals at an all-time low.
Sounds like every fishing trip we've ever gone on.
Isn't that what fishing is? Right?
That's it.
Anyway, I cast me rod out into the water, expecting once again to catch nothing but depression and sadness. At first, it seemed I had been quite successful.
This sounds like every Matunic trip ever.
Can they hear him?
And then, suddenly, what could it be? Was it actually a fish? Did I have a thing? No, I'm stuck on a rock. It's a rock. I'm sorry. Pull it in. I'm stuck. I know. It's stuck again. Yes. What can I do? I pull it in, and it's a very tricky rock.
We're not going to hold it together at this point.
I'm stuck very good on it. Wait a minute. Hold on a minute. That's not a rock. It's not a rock. It's a fish. It's a fish with 2 eyes on one side of its head. Oh my God, it's hideous. Oh.
He's getting into his Monty Python.
Yes. Yes, he is.
Yeah. I don't actually know.
It's
how
a
to
killer
do it,
rabbit.
Right? You know,
Coconut.
It just degenerates into a Monty Python thing at some point. So yeah, that's basically the story. I don't remember what sort of day it was, but I'm sure we hadn't caught anything. And
I'm sure we
threw my
hadn't.
line out there, and
Mm-hmm.
I got stuck on something, and I pulled it in, and it turns out the thing I got stuck on was a fish. So we caught him.
That's how it happens.
That was...
Delicious, though.
Yeah.
Super delicious fish. Wow.
Yep, flounder are amazing, delicious, easy to clean, and that's one of my favorite memories of fishing is catching that fish. Accountant Mike caught this thing was a giant. It was a doormat. It was like this.
It was big.
And it was in like 8 feet of water. It wasn't deep. We weren't out in the ocean. It was just in one of the salt ponds in Rhode Island.
Nice.
What'd you catch it with, Michael? What'd you catch?
He gave up immediately.
Do you remember where?
What did he say?
Do you remember
What'd
what?
you catch it with?
Yeah.
I caught it with a fishing pole.
Oh, good.
And
That's a start.
Effective.
I didn't give up. I caught it with a fishing pole and determination. That's what it was.
So for all you out there. I think it was a cocoa minnow.
Yeah, that sounds good.
That's like one of the only things we fish with in Rhode Island. So.
Yeah, sure.
Well, Captain Mike,
Anyway,
I gave you the night off, man, and you couldn't help but come and join us on the show. That warms my heart.
I hope this is considered billable hours.
Right.
I'm charging you for this show, dude.
You're right off for me.
We all are. He's net negative right now.
All right, well, peace out.
Good to hear from you, Captain.
Later.
Later, Mike.
See ya.
Audio issues again?
No, we're good.
Okay.
No.
Make sure our video's back here.
Video's back. Hopefully.
Oh, that was too good.
That is a good story.
Do we have any other callers?
And he did it in the Dutch. I mean, you got to give Accountant Mike credit, man.
I know.
He did the Dutch.
He can
Put
roll
him on the spot.
He can role play with the best of them.
Yes, he can.
Yeah.
I have to give him that.
If you guys have some good fishing stories, we have Robbie in the queue, and when you're done with caller, tell them thanks, and he'll hang them up. All right. Well, I guess I didn't have to read that part, G-Man. Let's hear Robbie's fishing story. You're on, Robbie.
Hey, how you guys doing?
Hey, Robbie.
Hey, Robbie.
I gotta tell you, I'm not exactly a fisherman. I'm more of a chef.
All right.
Oh.
Even better. I like where this is going.
The end product.
Oh, thank you guys. Yeah. What I'm really trying to know is how you guys. I mean, I gotta slice the fillet off the fish every time. You know, we get it in a package from a purveyor over at the restaurant, right?
Mm-hmm.
How do you guys do it when you guys get these bass out of the water? Like, you straight up just do it on the boat, or what do? You put them on ice, you take them home, and you do it on the barbecue?
Yeah.
What do you guys do?
Awesome question, Robbie. So to keep them fresh, if you're fishing in cold enough water, you're always fishing in cold enough water. We usually, when we're in the salt water, we'll just take them. One of the things I like to do right away is bleed the fish. Yeah. If I know I'm going to keep it, I bleed it, because getting rid of the blood, you get some of that taste that you're going to get with that
mineral-y.
cleans out mineral. And
But
then
even before you go there, when you're catching the fish, the least amount of stress you can put on that fish is going to lead to a better tasting fish.
That goes with any kind of food, yeah.
But yeah, you don't want to stress that fish out. So either getting in and right
So
away.
I got to ask, sorry to interrupt you, how are you guys bleeding out these fish?
So usually what I do, I try not to, depending on the fish and how I'm going to cut it up, I try not to do a big cut, because I don't want to ruin the structural component of the fish. It's harder to fillet a fish if its head's kind of loose, hanging.
Mm-hmm.
So I try to just stick a knife down into the gill area and just do a small cut.
Right in the neck.
Right through the neck, but not enough to sever the head.
Nope.
Mm-hmm.
You guys agree?
Yeah.
Now, is that behind the fin, or is that, what is that?
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that, Robbie.
I'm sorry, you do that behind the fin, or what is that?
Oh, right in where the gills are.
Right in the gill.
Yep.
Okay.
Right underneath.
Okay.
Right, stick it in through the gills. Bleed it quick. Like Jeff said here, don't abuse, get the fish, keep it calm, try to kill it right away. And then the biggest part is keeping it cool and getting it quickly to a cooler and quickly back home and cleaned up, right? Yeah. Now I did notice, I read this and I noticed it to be true. I found it was easier to fillet a fish the next day. You give it 12 to 24 hours.
It's a little bit more firm and easier to handle.
And if you keep it on ice, not frozen, but cold enough so the meat stays...
less.
Yeah. So when we're in Rhode Island and we go for like stripers or flounder, like Accountant Mike just shared that story, keep it nice and cold on 12 hours to 24 hours. 12 is nice. If you catch it in the morning, you can have it for dinner later. Yeah. But that does help with the filleting.
If you get a bluefish that's a fatty fish with a lot of oils, you can always put it in a bag of milk overnight, whole milk. And what that does is it draws out all that nasty oil flavor out of it. Makes that fish a lot less gamey.
Bluegills are good eating.
Yeah, and bluegills are good eating.
Yeah.
But that dark meat, that black stuff, get rid of it.
You need a big one, though, because there's not a lot of meat on those.
No.
Great tips. Talking about taking away the dark meat, making sure your fillet's clean, trying to get those bones out. And just the way this is the case with all wild game. I mean, whether it's a deer or a fish or whatever, just quickly cleaning it, cooling it, and then doing a really good job on your processing. It's going to be a much better product. For me, I like fresh fish, man. I hardly eat store-bought fish because if you get it fresh, it's just a world better.
You won't waste your time.
Yeah.
Good question. Do we answer your question, Robbie?
I mean, that's how we usually do it through our purveyor. We get the fresh fish there, and I usually have to break it down. What we usually use is a striped bass. We use some tilapia, so we're using a little bit of flatfish as well. You know what I mean?
Nice.
So it's also, I never have to go out, I haven't been out there. I mean, my parents are from Canada, right? But now, I'm from New York. I've done work up in Boston. I'm living in Connecticut now.
Hey, you're not far.
Hey, look at that.
That's where we're at.
Oh, nice. That's nice, guys. So there's good fishing. I gotta go out there sometime and try to fish.
Yeah, get out there.
Absolutely.
I'd like to see those sort of methods, but usually, yeah, I can break down the fish no problem, whether it's flat, whether it's whole, whatever it is. Get the 4 fillets, get the 2 fillets, whatever
Nice.
it is. Do the whole
Yeah,
pinning of the bones.
it's a skill.
That's
That sort of thing.
That's one of the best skills, man, because we've butchered our share of fillets. I know I have in the past. So, we'll
What
take.
do you guys do with it? I gotta ask because I make a lot of money to do this sort of thing. So what do you guys do? You throw it on the barbecue? How do you marinate it? What do you guys do?
Great question. Best way, guys. What's your favorite?
Well, when I was eating meat, I don't know if you caught that part. I haven't been eating meat in 3 months. Yeah, I grilled fish. I love grilled fish, but pan-fried is the way to go. I like a pan-fried.
Depending on what it is.
You pan fry with just the fillets. You don't do the whole fish.
I fillet the pan-fry the fillet. Maybe a light little
You gotta share, right? You gotta share.
panko breading.
I was gonna say I go for the panko, little macadamia nut encrusted.
Nice, fancy.
Oh yeah, go a little gourmet.
Yep.
Right. You probably appreciate that.
If you catch like a saltwater, like a striper, I once prepared a striper. I found this recipe in Field and Stream. You take egg whites and you whip them, and then you mix that whipped egg white with a ton of salt, and you coat the entire fish.
Oh yeah, salt coating.
In the salt, and you stick some lemon and lime or lemon and orange slices in the fish.
Ooh, yeah.
Obviously, you got the fish gutted, but everything else is there whole.
Yeah.
Coat it in that salt. You put it in the oven for I think it was maybe an hour or something. You could Google it.
Right.
It comes out like a hard crust.
Yep.
That's cool.
Knock that and break that off. The fish is so moist.
Yeah.
It's so delicious. That's an awesome technique. If you catch a good, nice big saltwater fish, they're really good. Never tried it with freshwater, but
yeah.
Robbie, thanks, man. These were great questions, especially coming from a chef, man. We'll have to since you're in Connecticut, we'll have to take you with us, and we'll have you do the flying, man.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you, guys. Yeah.
Thanks.
I'd love that. I'd like to show, because I know the Japanese do this a different way, and I work actually at a Japanese sashimi place.
Oh, there we go.
We're into that too. So
that's fancy, man. Well, thanks for calling in, Robbie. We appreciate the questions. All right.
We'll do a little ceviche.
Or is it
ceviche?
Ceviche.
I believe it's ceviche.
So, guys, if you want to call in, we still got time for another call or two. If you have any questions or stories to share with us, the number, I'll share it one more time. Where'd the number go?
There it is.
It is 1-347-202. I'm going too fast. 347-202-0228, and then press 1.
You got to jingle that mess.
Right? Jingle.
It's a lot easier than talking to the IRS.
So, we had someone here talking about, Jamie was talking about looking to catch rainbow trout. Jamie, the advice we shared works good for rainbow trout, man.
Rainbows look for fast water. Rainbows, for some reason, they love that fast water. That's where they're going to be.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yep.
Bruce shared a great tip over at YouTube. He shared, once you clean your fish, put them in a Ziploc bag.
Agreed.
Fill the bag full of water. It freezes like a block, and it will excuse me. It'll last a long time that way. So if you don't have a vacuum sealer, that's like a poor man's
Usually you
vacuum
don't
sealer.
when you're out in the woods, right?
Right?
No.
So great tip there. I'm checking out what else we have over at Prepper Broadcasting. Any tips? So guys, like we said, we got time for another call or two if you want to share a fishing story. Someone's saying yes, ceviche. So we talked about the cheap fishing setup. We talked about the time of year. I figure it would be good to tell everyone, what do you do to target your favorite freshwater fish? Just quick tip, targeting your favorite freshwater fish. Go around the table here. Anybody want to start? I know what I'm starting with.
All right. Well, yeah. You have your favorite spots.
Right.
I mean, that's just, you go to your
Absolutely. Yep.
You go to your favorite spot. It's been good to you in the past.
Yep.
So you go there. That's where I start, especially this time of year. It's, yeah. you start with your favorite spot. I mean, you know your tackle. But that's pretty much.
Go to the favorite spot.
Go to your favorite spot, and every fisherman has them.
Yep.
And you can't squeeze it out. You're just not gonna. Most of the time, it's really hard to get to. You know, there's a lot of walking and far from any parking area. So that's where I usually start.
Great tip. Start with your favorite spot. We have another call, so let's pause this. We're gonna take. It's Daniel, I think. Daniel in the queue. You here, Daniel?
I sure am.
There you are, Daniel.
Hey, Daniel. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, so I was on that actually, first fishing story kind of thing. Went on a fishing trip with a buddy of mine on Lake Lanier and caught a 30-pound freshwater striper. And that was absolutely exhilarating. But the reason I called is I actually went fishing today with my boys. They're 4 and 6. And there's a trout hatchery near us. And went up there to go fishing. And when they have a pond off by the hatchery, and the pond was completely covered over in duckweed. Completely overgrown the pond, and even with a traditional bobber and and worm for the boys, it was having a hard time getting penetrating duckweed. Ended up going with a Carolina rig and using some grubs and some night crawlers, and then ended up going with some watermelon seed artificial, and still completely crapped out, as it were. I was wondering if you guys have any tips for like really thick scum or duckweed or anything on top of local fishing holes.
Yeah.
Dynamite.
Dynamite.
Oh, sorry. I was watching Crocodile Dundee #2.
Let me try legal.
All right.
Okay.
Within the parameters of legal.
Exactly.
All right.
Heavy weeds. That is
It's the worst.
one.
I think every fisherman. It's just the worst.
It's a tough one, and it can be, depending on the time of year and what you're fishing for, it can be good.
Yeah. Top water.
If you're using, but you're talking about fishing with your boys.
Yeah, hook and a bobber,
and that's just gonna, Daniel. It's just gonna drive. I mean, you probably know it. Probably drove you nuts. I know for me, I like bass fishing in the weeds, but I got a bait caster with 50-pound braid with a heavy-duty leader. Something big and bright on the end with a big old hook and a big old weight. Like you said, a Carolina rig, that's a great way to go.
Yeah.
But fishing with kids, man, in the weeds, there's just no way around that. That's just asking for a bad day.
Right.
And depending on how deep the pond is, maybe 2 days before, go clean out the weeds.
Right. People do that. I mean, I see it in our area. People actually hire. You can hire people for that kind of service.
Yeah.
You can pay people to have them remove the weed, but I mean, if it's a public area, then that's not worth it. But and then it gets worse the longer you wait until summer.
Yeah.
The weeds grow.
Oh, absolutely.
That's another reason that summer fishing is no.
So, do you know how to fish?
Yeah, it was kind of fun. Yeah, it was kind of funny because the DNR actually put that duckweed on there for a reason. Like, yeah, it kind of got out of hand a little bit, but it's actually to protect the fish that are underneath it.
Oh, man.
So it's one of those things you got to kind of barrel through it.
Do you know, Daniel, how to do a weedless presentation with an offset bass hook and like a rubber worm?
Yeah.
All right, so that's all I would have done. An offset, for those of you who don't know, I get a big offset hook, and you can rig your rubber worm. Just Google it. There'll be a video on YouTube somewhere. Put that rubber worm on so it covers up the weed. Right. And like Daniel said, Carolina rig with the weight on the front, that's a great option.
Yep. So, you just have to change your tackle. That's pretty much
Guys, we just got a $2 donation from Jamie Bailey. Jamie.
Thank you, Jamie.
Thank you so much, man.
Thank you.
We got a super chat over on YouTube, and that is what helps us do this live show every week. So thank you for doing that, Jamie. Daniel, sorry, man. Sorry we don't have any more tips for the weeds other than dynamite or do what you already did.
Yeah.
You know what? I might take you up on that dynamite.
All right. Well, thanks for calling in, and don't tell the police it was our idea.
I have no clue what you're talking about.
Just tell them to look for Uncle Bourbon. They won't find him.
Thanks, guys.
Hey,
thanks for calling in, Daniel. Hope the
Daniel.
kids catch something soon.
Yep.
So, guys, we're coming on a close. We were talking about targeting your favorite fish. What are you going to do? We actually, opening day is coming this Saturday for us here in Connecticut. And what opening day means is it means you can fish all bodies of water for trout and every other species
Keepers.
and keep them. There's a lot of places you can fish year round.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
That's
I don't
probably
know
the
what
best time.
opening day is
Yeah.
anymore. I gave up on it a long time ago.
Right. It just means the waters are much more crowded.
Yeah, pretty
Not
much.
this weekend with the rain we've had, though. But that's okay.
So for me, if I'm going to target my favorite fish, it's going to be a bass. I'm going to be using probably
A net.
Yeah, as we all know, my net.
Well, once you get them near the boat, of course.
Why not?
I'm going to use, my lightweight spin and reel with some maybe 6-pound test at most. I'm going to do a big offset hook, and I'm going to put a big old Gary Yamamoto watermelon flake.
Oh, the best.
Oh,
rubber
We've
worm.
caught some good
wacky style.
Wacky style.
Wacky style.
So
It's
if you don't know
illegal
what that
in most
is,
states.
It should be.
It is in tournaments.
Really?
Yes.
It just works that good.
It's just that good.
You put the hook, the worm on the hook, it hangs like a mustache. If you picture it hanging just like a little, Manchurian or something. And
it's fish crack.
It is the fish. The bass
Fish
cannot help but hit that. We can sit. My kids. We get to go to a lake near where James has a lake that in his town that we can go. It's a town lake, right? It's private to the town.
Well,
so
a
we
couple
get to go to the
towns own it,
beach.
but
yeah. And man, just you can hammer them with that setup. So
Yep.
we got 2 minutes left. Uncle Bourbon, what's your tip?
Okay, so I'm going to throw you for a loop here.
All
My
right.
favorite tip, my favorite fish to go catch, pound for pound, smallmouth bass. As much as I love the trout,
Yep.
but we have a river nearby that's really good. Actually, it's right down the road.
Yeah.
But the best part is summertime, go out in the evening, wet wade with a popper on, 5-weight fly line, boom. You're going to hook into the big guys, and they're going to bend your rod. They're going to go aerial. It's going to be a great
They're
day.
great
And you know
fish.
what? You're going to have a good time doing it. So I'm going to go with that. That's what it doesn't.
great tip.
It
That's
doesn't even
good.
matter what popper it is. As soon as that thing hits the water, that fish is on.
All right. Well, guys, thanks for tuning in for tonight's show all about fishing. Thanks to everyone over at Prepper Broadcasting who joined us tonight. We had Hawker and Maui, Zeta3, G-Man, of course.
Thanks,
Who
G-Man.
else? RSWL Prep. Looks like we had some problems, and Jay Fergie couldn't hear us. Sorry about that, Jay Fergie. Mellendale. I hope I got that right. Thanks for joining us. Timber, thanks for joining us, guys. And we will see you next week. Actually, next week there may be an issue with the scheduling, so we'll have some updates for you soon. We're not going to be able to do Tuesday
Hey, I'll go
night.
out on a limb here. Anybody has any fishing tips or questions, email them in. We'll try to get back to you in case you missed the show.
Perfect. Thanks for joining
Very
us,
good.
guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our friends on YouTube, hang on, guys.
Muted.
All right, we're muted. So YouTubers, hang on, guys. We'll say bye to you in a second. Just going to close down over at Prepper Broadcast.
It's killed.
So guys on YouTube, thank you for joining us. We do these live shows every week, and we do them with the help of the Super Chats. Jamie Bailey, thank you so much for that $2 Super Chat. That helps us do it every week. And it is small or large contribution. Every little bit helps. It absolutely helps. And that was great, man. So thank you so much. And thank you for everyone who has joined us this week. Fishing is a less popular topic on the Homesteady show, but it's one of my favorite topics. I could talk about fishing way more than we do on the show. So thanks for joining us tonight, guys. Bruce wants a show on turkey hunting. Almost time. It is almost
getting
time.
there.
Spring turkey.
It's getting
Spring
there.
turkey's coming up
They're,
quick.
they're strutting. I was out in the woods today shed hunting, and they were gobbling. It's heating up.
Can we go coyote hunting first, though?
We need to go coyote hunting.
Yeah. They have killed off the turkey population and the deer population and human population.
Today's broadcast has come to you through the courtesy of...
So, we're getting some thank yous. Bruce, thanks for joining us. Vochos Granja, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Thank you, guys. Thanks for joining us. And, guys, we're going to go now talk with the Homesteady Pioneers. If you want to support the show, you can become a Homesteady Pioneer. Head over to thisishomesteady.com and click on Pioneers in the header and become a Pioneer. And you can join us every week for the members-only after-show discussion where we share all the real tips and all how we really catch the... No, I'm kidding. We just talk about stuff with the other Pioneers and share... A lot of the Pioneers share tips, so it's a lot of fun. So I hope you guys can join us. And Jamie, you're invited because you gave us a super chat. So send me your email again, Jamie, and I will send you an invite to tonight's discussion. Thanks for watching here on YouTube, guys. We will see you next week. It will not be on Tuesday. We got a scheduling issue next week, so I'll have some news. You'll see it in the feed soon. We'll tell you, what we're doing. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you soon.